أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. So this is the, I think it should be fine. So this is the 6th week, and this week we are, so for the first 5 weeks we studied who am I and what am I doing here on earth. And we were studying quote unquote story of Adam, and going through this, trying to read how it is telling me my story, not a historical story, but my story here and now, how I can confirm, because Quran says that it's guidance, so guidance should be something verifiable. So it tells me that, let's say, if you dig here enough, you are going to find a treasure. So each treasure map is a guidance. But how do you know if it's a true map or not? You just go and dig, you find the gold, and you're done. So Quran says it's a guidance, and today we are going to take another example of guidance from Quran. This time it is the story of Noah and the famous flood story. So we will try to read it as it is explaining something about ourselves, not as a historical story, because it is going to become much tougher if we try to say that, well, where was the flood? Where did the ship stop? Turkey. So, well, yeah, there are two different, like Quran says Judi is the name of a mountain in today's Turkey. Old Testament was saying that it's Mount Ararat, still in Turkey, but a different mountain. So which mountain is that? What sort of fish was it? How many layers were there? Whatever. There are a lot of discussions would then happen in there. But such discussions would take place if we take the scripture as a history book, and we are trying to see if it gives us a accurate description of what truly had happened in the past. But as we have been talking in the previous weeks, this is not really the point of the scripture anyway. If you would like to get history lesson, go and ask historians. So the creator is getting the accurate historical account is not the purpose of my life here on earth. And this is what we have been discussing for the last 5 weeks. Who am I? Why am I here? And none of our conversation was even getting tangential to saying that, yeah, we need to learn history. This is the purpose of our existence. So as such, Quran, I'm not expecting a history lesson from Quran, but still Quran tells me some sort of a story, historical story. So how am I going to read it? So I'm going to read it within the purposes of Quran, within the description of Quran. So I shouldn't try to get something other than what it is suggesting me. And it is, Quran talks to me about me and why am I in here, my purpose in existence, to be a guidance. So for that, we are again going to go through this famous story of Noah. And the story appears in more than one place in Quran, but we are going to go through Surah Hud, the 11th chapter. The main story of Noah is in between verses 25 and 48. But I'll just start with the first 4 verses of the Quran, of this chapter, because it sets a theme for this chapter. And the rest of the chapter is becoming supportive arguments for this main point. And the main theme in here is, I will very quickly read, Alif Lam Ra, Kitabun Uhkimat Ayatuhu, Thumma Fusilat min ladun Hakim al-Khabir, Allah ta'budu illa Allah, innani lakum minhu nadhirun wa bashir. Alif Lam Ra, a divine text is this, with messages that have been made clear in and by themselves, and have been distinctly spelled out as well, bestowed upon you, out of the grace of the one who is wise, all aware, so that you may worship none but God. Say, O Prophet, behold, I come unto you from him as a warner and a bearer of glad tidings. وأن يستغفروا ربكم ثم توبوا إليه يمتعكم متاعا حسنا إلى أجل مسمى ويؤتي كل ذي فضل فضله وإن تولوا فإني أخاف عليكم عذاب يوم كبير. So the verse continues from the previous one. Ask your sustainer to forgive you your sins and then turn towards him in repentance. Thereupon he will grant you a goodly enjoyment of life until a term set. And he will bestow upon everyone possessed of merit his merit. But if you turn away, then verily I dread for you the suffering on that awesome day. إلى الله مرجعكم وهو sorry, this is no good writing. Okay, إلى الله مرجعكم وهو على كل شيء قدير. Unto God is your return, and He has the power to will anything. So we are going to see a repeating pattern within the chapter, throughout the chapter, which is the prophet in here is being addressed as saying that this text is sent to you so that it's going to tell you it's a clear message, and it's coming from the all-wise one, the one that's aware. And the message that the prophet is asked to utter to the people is أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. So don't worship anybody other than God. This is the message. And in addition to this, I am no one but a warner. So the messenger tells himself that this is the message that I come to you with. Don't worship anyone but God, and I'm nothing but a warner. And then in the next verse, it talks about, again, ask for forgiveness for your wrongdoings. If you don't do so, there's going to come a suffering. A suffering is awaiting you. This is the second theme. So the first one is, actually the third one. So the first one is, don't worship anybody but God. The second one is, I am just a messenger. And the third one is, if you don't do so, if you don't heed this message and be God conscious, then a suffering awaits you. And the fourth main theme is, إِلَى اللَّهِ مَرْجِعُكُمْ. And your return is to the God. This return being to God is again going to come to us within the story of Noah. We will talk about it when it comes there. So this is the main theme, and it will keep repeating throughout the chapter. And this was the message that the messenger was suggested or reminded to, commanded to actually tell his people. And Quran is giving several different examples of previous messengers that went through with their people having a similar conversation. So we are going to go through that. Okay, now we are jumping to verse 25. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا نُوحًا إِلَى قَوْمِهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Again, remember the same pattern here. And indeed, we sent forth Noah unto his people. Behold, I come unto you with the plain warning. He says, I'm a messenger, and I came for the warning, just as at the very beginning of the chapter. أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That you may worship none but God. Again, the same message. إِنِّي أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ عَذَابَ يَوْمٍ أَلِيمٍ. For verily I fear of a suffering befall you on a grievous day. So this is main message of messengers. Let's look at it. Today, in this society, what is it that a messenger comes to me, reminding me of a messenger, and am I in need of a messenger? I should ask those questions. And gives me this message, Allah ta'budu illallah, or don't worship anybody other than God. And if you do so, you're going to bear suffering. So what's generally happening in today's society, just to give some contrasts. For example, in general, there's denial of God. There's this, everything is trying to be explained in terms of material. And even if, let's say, you push the boundaries, you say that, look, how come that it's going to happen by itself, as we have been discussing over several weeks? Does this single water molecule going to know where it's going to go in my body, as we have been discussing? Okay, let there be a God. But then there's this messenger comes into picture. A man calling me to something. Well, I mean, maybe I can figure it out by myself. I don't need a person such as you. So there's this personality in between. So while reading the rest of the chapter, let's keep that in mind. Who is messenger for me? Am I in need of a messenger? And how do I generally respond to messenger? So we will talk about this. Let's move one verse forward. 27. وقال الملأ الذين كفروا من قومه ما نراك إلا بشرا مثلنا وما نراك اتبعك إلا الذين وما نراك اتبعك الذين هم أراذلنا بادي الرأي وما نرى لكم علينا من فضل بل نظنكم كاذبين. So this verse is interesting because it is now taking the response from the people. Messenger came with a message, and the response says, the chief ones among his people is coming out and speaking, not regular people. The chief, like people that has some position in the society, comes and says that, and they refuse to acknowledge the truth. They say, we do not see in you anything but a mortal man like ourselves. You are just another man. Why shall I listen to you? You are any person. And we do not see that any follow you, save those who are quite obviously the most low profile among us. So your followers are at the lowest of the people. And we do not see that you could be in any way superior to us. On the contrary, we think that you are liars. What sort of a conversation is that? Does this conversation happen in our lives? What do you think? Do you think?
I mean, at first I'm just feeling like this conversation was happening with the Prophet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, like maybe in our context, a lot of people who have like a lot of clout in the media may look down on people who maybe don't have as high a status. This, can at least be thought as like consolation. Maybe that this was also going on with the people who fought, the people before you that they were looked down upon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as we are, let's say, on this college campus, so if you are to say, don't worship anyone but God, it sounds dogmatic to some people. And maybe it's very likely to hear something like this, such as, like, the ones, like, you are just a man among us. Maybe you don't have any title, you don't have any of this or that, because the chief of a group, or the chiefs of a group, are ranked people. The messengers are, in general, were just regular people. They didn't have the titles that were granted from within the society. They were not professors, they were not this or that. They were just regular people. So, but those chiefs are challenging, saying that you're just a regular person. You do not have a title in this, let's say, academia, in this university, or in this society. So we are not going to listen to you. Because the message doesn't have anything to do with the titles or anything. It simply says, I'm a Warner, and worship the creator. The response is totally irrelevant. It says, you are just a regular person. And even today, like, let's take ourselves from the reverse. Somebody comes and tells me that worship none but God. So what am I going to look at in this person? What am I searching for? What sort of qualities I am searching for? Am I searching qualities like these chiefs did? You're just a regular person. You didn't get enough of education. Let it be you don't have a title of expertise in Arabic, whatever. We can't even ask this if we ask it from the reverse. You're just a regular person. Who are you to remind me of worship God? And the ones that follow you are the most low profile people. They don't have any titles either. Your followers are like you. And we don't see that you are anyway superior to us, as if I am only going to take lessons from someone who is superior than me. If not, I'm not going to listen to them. And how do I define the superiority? Based on what? Based on however I became a chief, however I define myself as a chief in my society, in my circles. I guess in this sense, this verse can be taken from several angles. First, if I am at the side of messenger and asking somebody to find or accept the message, then yeah, we frequently hear such claims. Or if I might be getting some invitation from the messenger, and my response to the messenger should be along those lines as well. You're just a regular person. Who are you? So, okay, let's continue. We will come back maybe because the story is a little bit long, but if anything attracts your attention here, or you would like to go back, just interrupt and tell me. So then Noor comes with an argument for this suggestion of the people. قال يا قوم أرأيتم إن كنت على بينة من ربي وآتاني رحمة من عنده فعميت عليكم أنلزمكموها وأنتم لها كارهون. So he said, Noah said, "O my people, what do you think? What if it is the case that I am taking my stand on a clear evidence from my sustainer, who has given me grace from himself, a revelation to which you have remained blind? And how, or if this is the case, can we force it on you even though you don't like it?" Because those people are not listening to the message at all. They are just looking at the status. And he is inviting them to the content of the message. And the way that he says it is, what if? Just consider this message, because They are not considering the message at all. They are not listening to the message. They just say that, looking at the title, if the title works, they will. If not, they don't listen at all. And then Nuh is making his argument saying that, what if whatever I say is correct and granted by my Lord? Why don't you even consider it? But if you don't consider it, I cannot really force you. This is how the verse is ending. It says, I cannot force it to you as long as you don't like it. And then he continues, وَيَا قَوْمِ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ مَالًا إِنْ أَجْرِي إِلَّا عَلَى اللَّهِ وَيَا قَوْمِ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عليه مالا إن أجري إلا على الله وما أنا بطارد الذين آمنوا إنهم ملاقو ربهم ولكني أراكم قوما تجهلون. And all my people, no benefit do I ask of you for this. My reward rests with none but God. This is also an important point. The messenger is saying that there is no benefit to me from you if you accept or listen to my message. My benefit or my gain, my reward rests with none but God. And I shall not repulse any of those who have attained to faith. So, this part, again, I guess for me, this part of it is so when I'm going to listen to a message from someone, I'm having this question mark. Why is this guy trying to tell me this idea? Does he have a gain if I accept it or not? Because am I being manipulated by these ideas? The messenger in here says, look, I don't have any such relationship with you in this case. There's no benefit that I'm going to gain out of that. So this last part, verily they are in a state of meeting the believers, and I shall not repulse any of those who have attained to faith. Verily they are in a state of meeting their sustainer. Whereas in you, I see people without any awareness. So you remember at the very beginning of the chapter, it was saying that your return is to God. You shall return to God. What does this imply, returning to God?
You were with him before.
You were with him before, so what does that mean? Were you with God, or personally for you, what does it mean to you? Turning to God or coming from God?
So I'm just viewing it from the lens of when the budget parts of your soul, and then God stood in front of stood all the souls, and did something. I can't remember right now. and then I'm here, and then my soul's gonna return back to God.
After you die, or how long?
After Judgment Day.
Judgment. So still more time.
Way more time.
Okay. Okay. So during that time, you are away from God.
I'm trying to return now.
You are trying to return now. Okay. By not committing suicide, right? He said, like after Judgment Day, whatever, killing yourself is not the way to turn to God, I guess.
That's
Not okay. Okay,
not my intention.
okay, that's your intention. Good.
Thanks for the clarification.
Just because we are at the pen,
Yeah.
it's a high possibility.
Yes. So turning to God, what does it imply?
I guess to me, it has a connotation similar to returning to your home. Like you are lost, and then you're turning back. And So when I take it that way, it's more like a continuous, constantly happening event rather than it will happen one day or it happened at a certain time. It's like I am supposed to be with him all the time, but sometimes I get lost. And when I, through my heedlessness, when I free myself from my heedlessness, and I return to him again.
And in this case, as if those chiefs are saying the messenger to repulse the believers around him, but the response of messenger in here is giving some idea about the believers, the followers of the messenger. So the followers of the messenger is not blindly following the messenger. As if the messenger in here with this verse says, even if I were to disperse them, they already are in state of meeting with their creator. They already found the truth. So as if the messenger comes and says that, you know what, I was lying to you for the last 5 years. Whatever I told you is wrong. Would a believer buy into this? Just for the sake of a stupid argument. Messenger comes today to this room and says that, you know what, Quran is not right. Would you buy into that? Because it is pretty much like you have this, as we were using the map, analogy of a map. Somebody gives you a map of a treasure. You take it as a guidance. You went and dig and you found the gold. And then the one that gives you the map comes and tells you that, you know what, this map was made up. Forget about it. Could you really forget about it? You already found the gold, right? So the messenger in this case is not really saying that follow me just because I'm a prestigious guy, I'm a cool person, so you should be following me. No, the messenger is coming up with a firm matter, the truth. So once the believers confirm its truth, there is no way to repulse believers around the messenger. So the message that the messengers bring is not stories. It is verifiable truth. And believer is the person who verifies the truthfulness of this message, and hence the connection between the messenger and the believer. Messenger is just a messenger in this case. Brings you the message, leaves it with you. He doesn't give you the guide. Like, he is not the source of guidance. You get it, you verify it, and you are good now. But he says, whereas in you I see people without any awareness. So in here, there is this contrast, what it means in terms of إِنَّهُمْ مُلَاقُو رَبِّهِمْ. And this mulaku is, they are in a state of meeting their Lord, whereas لَكِنِّي أَرَاكُمْ قَوْمًا تَجْهَلُونَ. I see you in a state of unaware. You don't know what's going on. Although the believer is aware of, or in constant connection, if you like, with the Lord, you are not aware of what's going on within your existence, within your surroundings. So I need to take it as, again, we are reading it through the flow of the story, but where am I in this story? Am I taking the message of the messenger as such, verifying its truthfulness, and establishing my connection with what was the initial teaching? Allah tarbudu illallah. Do not worship anyone other than God. Is it just a command that I have to do because messenger told me to do? Or is it like the gold spot, I digged it and I realized that truly this is what I need? Don't worship anyone other than God is truly my gold mine. If I realize this, then who can take me away from such a gold mine if I'm convinced about it? So how do I take it? Do I take it simply as a command, like because this is how it is generally being told, I guess. 10 commandments, as if do this, don't do that. Why? Because Prophet said so, because God said so. I mean, if it is just because Prophet said so, Prophet comes and says that, okay, 10 commandments, forget about them. I just couldn't remember it well, you know what? So maybe it was 11, maybe 9. But if I tried them and I confirmed them, then there is no way that you can repulse me from this message. And this is what Prophet is saying. He's saying that I'm not one of those leaders that you know. Because the chiefs come and say that repulse them, because they are thinking that the messenger is a chief like us. He's just trying to steal our role. And for us, people are behind us because of our power, because of our family lineage, whatever. So if we repulse them, they would go. But we are keeping them with our power. So they go and tell messenger that repulse them. And messenger says, I'm not as you are. I'm not just a leader, a charismatic leader. What I hold at my hand is truth. So this is the difference of a messenger. I should ask, in my case, how do I treat messenger? Is he just a charismatic leader, like a very soft-hearted, somebody who suffered too much, this is why I love him so much? Or he is someone who truly gives me a message which I confirm, which is, I have a lot of wounds in my self, in my deep self-existence, and the medicine that he brings, the message, is healing my wounds. So I am really behind what he brings to me. So Nuh continues with his argument. وَيَا قَوْمِ مَنْ يَنْصُرُنِي مِنَ اللَّهِ إِنْ طَرَدتُّهُمْ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. And all my people who would shield me from God, were I to repulse them, will you not then keep this in mind? Or don't you think about this? So I guess reading this verse along the lines of the previous ones, if I try to repulse them, and who is going to help me from God, is as if I say that this was wrong, as if I am, who is going to support me then? Because I am also in the first place very much firm and sure about the message that I carry. If I tell them that this message is wrong, what am I going to be speaking about? What is going to support me then? In a sense, I'm reading this verse as, then I'm going to be in self-conflict. But in the first place, I am also sure about my message. If I tell you or tell them that this message was a lie, so then give me an alternative message, first convince me about it, then I'm going to go and tell them that, okay, this message was wrong, here is the better message. This is, Yansuruni min Allah, is because Allah is the truth, the source of truth. So if I deny the truth that I bring, so what other truth are there so that I'm going to convince myself? Because I cannot, in the first place, convince myself. How am I going to turn them and say that this message is wrong? Why am I reading this verse as such? Whenever I see verses such as Yansuruni min Allah, or let's say God said sort of verses, how am I going to confirm truthfulness of such verses? In order to confirm truthfulness of these verses, I take it as, like practically speaking, replacing the word God with truth, in this case, truth that is observable to me or reachable to me, makes it confirmable. So when the verse says, then who is going to help me from God? So if I deny the truth, what alternative truth you are suggesting me that is going to cover up the emptiness in me? Because if I deny the truth, I left it. A human is yearning for truth. What is your alternative truth that is going to give you? Don't you even think about this? أفلا تذكرون. And then ولا أقول لكم عندي خزائن الله ولا أعلم الغيب ولا أقول إني ملك لا أقول للذين تزدري أعينكم لن يؤتيهم الله خيرا الله أعلم بما في أنفسهم إنني إذا لمن الظالمين. So then he says, and I do not say unto you, God's treasures are with me, nor do I say, I know the reality which is beyond the reach of human perception. Nor do I say, behold, I am an angel. Nor do I say of those whom your eyes hold in contempt, never will God grant them any good. For God is fully aware of what is in their hearts. If I were to speak as such, I would indeed be among evildoers. Okay, I guess I talked too much. Let's take some comments from the people. So in the flow of this story, why is he making this point? I don't say unto you, God's treasures are with me.
Well, maybe because they're kind of criticizing him for having a high status of chief specifically. Right? Saying this is not compatible, right? I'm not saying that I have, this ability to create myself great status inside. I'm not saying that I'm an angel. I'm not saying so. Why do your criticism have any relevance? He's saying like, these are not the things that I'm making, right? He's saying I simply guidance, and without guidance you don't need this.
Yeah, awesome. So what is Khazainullah? So like the God's treasures.
I assume it's like the ability. I mean, you just like the ability to make some kind of effect inherently, right? Like only God can do with humans, right? So, like when I said, if they're saying you don't have the status, how can you properly say, well, I'm not saying I have this treasure of God, the ability to make myself a king, make myself a chief. That's not what I'm saying. So why is this?
Yeah.
What is the verse?
Well, nothing about this one. We are trying to understand. Nothing specifically about this part. So any comments?
Is it like if I say God treasures are with me, is that the same thing as saying I am God? So like I understand that he's just saying I am human, I'm not a God.
So if we take it from the I will make an attempt. So the chiefs are, again, the people that were arguing was the chiefs that have some sort of a status in the society. And the believer, the messenger and the believers of him were like regular people. And the worry of the chief is losing the status in the society. This is why there's always a conflict. And even today, for instance, when it comes to the message, belief in God is really something very personal. But still, there is a, if you like, war against belief. It had always been, and today still. Like if there is somebody, how free would you feel to declare your belief in front of somebody else without the fear of being judged? for instance. So still there's this thing in there. And the chiefs were criticizing against it because they thought that this message, if it comes, it's going to take our titles from us. But then the messenger is saying, as if in here, now I am taking the literal meaning of treasures. The messenger says, I don't have the wealth, like as if somebody believes in me, I'm going to grant them money, or God is going to grant them money. I don't have treasures of God that I am going to give them wealth or guarantee them wealth. Because to the end, nor do I say of those whom your eyes hold in contempt, like the ones that you don't like among people, my followers. I cannot say them that God will not grant them any good. I don't know about what's going to happen to them. This is not my concern. This is not my duty anyways. As if the fear of losing their position in the society says, my message is not about giving somebody title, taking somebody's title, or giving somebody wealth. It's not my concern. My concern is, message is simple. Worship nobody but God. But it looks like, why is it that the chiefs are disturbed by this message? Maybe we can find the answer to this, understand this verse by questioning in the first place. Why does a chief or chiefs disturbed by a message of worship none but God?
They expect their people to not worshiping someone other than himself.
Yeah. So, who are the chiefs? Since we are reading for ourselves. Am I a chief at some point? When the messenger comes to me, am I doing some sort of an objection as the chiefs in here are doing? What sort of a title or position do I ascribe to myself? It doesn't need to be that I am a ruler of Philadelphia, sort of. But it might be that I am getting some sort of a title at some aspects of my life. For example, now I am the moderator of this discussion. Once I step out of this room, I'm not going to have this title anymore. But it might be that at some points of my life, I consider myself to have some sort of a title. And in this room, let's say, if this gentleman over there, if he cannot recite the verses as fluently as I am reciting, why shall I listen anything from him? I can think of from him, right? Because I have the title, I have the fluency, I am the moderator. He's just a regular man in there.
He's mixing truth with.
Sorry?
He's mixing truth with his own ideas.
So then once the messenger, let's say in this case he be the messenger, he comes and tells me that worship none but God. Why does this message disturb me?
Because of who it's coming from? Is that a problem?
Because it reminds me of something that I am doing wrong. So it reminds me that I am sort of worshiping myself in the first place because I am considering myself to be worthy. Where did I get this worth from? Because of my knowledge, because of my seat, my computer screen. So these are the things that are giving me some status. As I get my status from them, I am also worshiping them. Because although I am, let's say, controlling my computer, If I take my studies from my computer, I am also a servant of my computer, because if I lose this, I'm going to become a regular person like him. Or let's say if I'm relying on my wealth, I might be I might consider myself be a strong man with my wealth, but actually I am subservient to my wealth. I am the slave of my wealth. Because if my wealth goes away, I'm just going to become one of you miserable guys. I don't want to be miserable like you, I would think. So I would become a servant of my wealth. So I am worshiping something with which I consider myself to be godlike. So I am a god. At the same time, I am a lowest of the servants of my wealth or whatever makes me important. So when the messenger comes with the message that don't worship anything other than God, it just shows, first of all, how lowly I am to myself. And if I do as you say, all my titles are going to go away. I don't want this to happen, because I am important with my title. But the messenger is now saying that I'm not going to give you any wealth, because it's not that God put me as his, ledger, who is distributing his wealth. It's not that if you believe I'm going to give you some sort of wealth or assign you some sort of a wealth. He's talking something totally of a different type. And I don't know, he says, وَلَا أَعْلَمُ الْغَيْبِ, I don't know the unseen, or I do not know the reality which is beyond the reach of human perception. What I'm telling you is not, in a way he's saying that what I tell you is relatable. I'm not coming to you with something extraordinarily different or mystical or anything like that. It's a message that you can relate to. I'm not telling you that I'm an angel, this is why you should follow me. Yes, I agree with you that I'm just a regular man, as you are. And I cannot neither give guarantee or disguarantee, like the reverse of guarantee, for my followers in terms of God will grant them, never will God grant them any good, or vice versa. So this is the end of Nuh's argument. So he went through 4 verses. Any comment that you would like to add? No. So we are getting close to the making sheep. Go ahead.
The previous verse,
Okay.
when he says that I do not say unto you this, I do not say that, and so on, I guess he's also giving us an approach, a method that we should be approaching the Quran or any scripture. So when we take the message, when we try to understand it, we shouldn't pretend as if we are seeing the guide, the unseen. So we should be concentrating on what we see in front of us. So why I am saying this? So for instance, Quran is full of verses saying the God is this, God is that, like Qayyum or Hay or Vedud or all these names. Or many things about the God which is unseen to us if we take it as just something about God. But this verse, I guess, telling us that do not take it as it is. Do not talk about God that do not speculate about the things that you don't see. The message tells you something about what you see. So, for instance, when a verse tells you the God is Rob, God is sustainer, try to see how this sustenance is manifested in your life. This is how you will understand the message. Do not just repeat, God is sustainer. When you read the verse, God is sustainer, do not just repeat, because this is unseen to you. And message is not talking to you about things that you don't see. The message tells you God is sustainer so that your attention is attracted to the sustenance in your life. Or when a verse talks about God's treasures, what is with God. So by definition, it's something out of our reach. So do not take it as it is. Take it as its reflection, its manifestation in your life. Because the messenger says, I'm not talking about these kind of things. I'm telling you something, as you said, you can relate.
So when he says, I don't tell you that I am an angel, so it means do not take me as I am an angel.
Exactly. Like treat me just like as a human being, like yourself. There's nothing wrong with this, and it should be that way. Because by looking at how I live my life in this physical world, just like you will understand something about the message. So do not try to imagine things you cannot imagine. Do not try to see things that you cannot see. Just look what in front of you. And this is what message is about.
And contrasting this with the chiefs of the society, then as if, let's say, we are chiefs because we are wealthy, so you are claiming to be a chief, so you should be wealthy in terms of your dominion, which is God. So as if there's this assumption. So what are you relying on? The messenger says, I'm not relying on wealth of God as you are relying on your self-wealth. Or let's say they are saying that we are the chief of this society because we are knowledgeable people. Says, and you must be claiming to be like another chief messenger, another trying to become another source of authority. He says, no, I don't know the unseen. I'm not claiming to be the chief of people, an alternative chief, just because I have the knowledge of unseen. Or you are superior because of your lineage, whatever, and we know that you don't have a importance in terms of your lineage, whatever. Maybe you are an angel. He says, no, I'm not claiming such a thing. I'm just a regular, normal person, and what I bring is what people get attached to. People are not getting attached to any of those things which cannot be proven or which cannot be held on to. It's not mystical story sort of a thing. Believers are really clinging to truth, or should bring to truth. And for myself, now I'm taking myself, how do I take messenger? And how instead shall I take messenger? So then this chiefs respond saying that قالوا يا نوح قد جادلتنا فأكثرت جدالنا فأتنا بما تعيدنا إن كنت من الصادقين. Oh no, you have contended with us in arguments and have needlessly prolonged our controversy. Bring upon us, therefore, that which you did threaten us, if you are a man of truth. So now there's this challenge. They say, okay, you talk too much. If you really say that this, whatever you're threatening us with, because initially the messenger was saying that I am worried that there's going to be a suffering. Verse 26. Verily, I fear of a suffering befall you on a grievous day. Okay, so I will finish this conversation and ask a question then before we get into the rest of the story. He answered, قال إنما يأتيكم به الله إن شاء وما أنتم بمعجزين. He answered, only God can bring it upon you if He so wills, and you shall not escape from it. You shall not elude it. بمعجزين. ولا ينفعكم نصحي إن أردت أن أنصح لكم إن كان الله يريد أن يغويكم هو ربكم وإليه ترجعون. For my advice will not benefit you much as I desire to give you good advice. If it be God's will that you shall remain lost in grievous error, He is your sustainer, and unto Him is your return. So, what is it? Again, I'm going to ask a very general question that the messenger is warning against. Because now the chiefs are challenging, saying that, okay, we are not going to listen to your message. You just kept prolonging the conversation. Bring us whatever you were challenging us with or threatening us with. In our day-to-day life, what does it mean that the messenger is warning me against in terms of threatening me with some sort of a suffering that is to come? Because in this case, a flood will come. We will get to the flood. Or what is it that? And there are different versions of like different tribes throughout the Quran being again warned initially. They didn't listen to the message, and they were sort of quote unquote punished with a suffering. So, in my life, what is that? What is this warning? What does it tell me? And if I don't listen to the message, how is it that I am receiving some sort of a punishment? I don't know if it's proper to say. So before we get into the rest then, in here, it is still telling something about human. So those people are still taking it as a personal quarrel between themselves and the messenger. Still they say that, okay, then you bring us this calamity that you were warning us against. Still it's a matter of titles. I don't want to accept the message because I am fearful of losing my status. And the one that threatens my status is the messenger to me. I am not seeing that it is about the message. Still, I am saying that this messenger, he's trying to take away all my power, all my status in here. So, okay, challenging the messenger, saying, well, okay, you bring me this, what you were mentioning. The messenger's response is, only God can bring it upon you. Still, messenger brings in the message. Says that it's not personal. I'm not going to take anything away from you. It has nothing to do with me. Since the very beginning, Nuh is very clear about this part. I have no gain out of this. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just a regular person. Everything is as such. Says it's the creator. He's talking about the truth that is manifesting himself everywhere in this existence. Only God can bring it upon you. If He so wills, you shall not elude it. You cannot You're not going to make him incapable of doing it. Once he brings it in, there is no way you're going to escape from it. And even the last verse, 34, is also very interesting. He says, my advice will not benefit you, much as I desire to give you good advice. He is also again saying that although I give you advice, my advice is not going to heal you, cure you. I don't hold any power. My message does, I do not hold any power to change anything in you. And the final part of this verse is also interesting. هُوَ رَبُّكُمْ وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. Again, the same message. He is your Lord, but Rabb in here is not, it's a, the connotation of Rabb is with mercy. It says he is your merciful Lord. It doesn't have the connotation of a, let's say, harshness. It has a connotation of mercy, softness. He is your Rabb, sustainer, and you return to him. Again, this was at the very beginning of the chapter, was the main theme, right? Believers were in constant meeting with him. In the 4th verse of this chapter, it was saying that you are going to turn back to him. In this verse, he's also saying that he's your sustainer, meaning that everything that you have right now, that I have right now, where is it coming from? If I ask this question to myself. Because at the beginning we were asking, when did you come from God? When are you going to go to God, right? And after Day of Judgment, we are going to God, you said. So in that moment, where am I coming from? How do I exist right now? Does anything that I say I right now belongs to me by myself? Do I hold any of these things, or can I claim any ownership of anything in here? I do observe, and I can confirm that I am being given existence right at that moment. And in the next moment, I am being renewed by the same source again. So I come from him, and my return to complete the cycle, to confirm, I say that yes, I'm coming from him, or me is, everything is from him, and there is nothing that exists by itself. This is how I return back to him, giving things back to him, saying that I don't own them. Pretty much like a mirror. A mirror does not own anything that you observe on it. If I hold a mirror here, you're going to see the colors on it. But does the mirror own any of the colors or any of the shape? Everything comes to mirror, turns back to where it is coming from. Every moment, this mirror declares that what you see on me comes from outside, and it shall be attributed to its source. You should not attribute any beauty you see on me, a mirror would say, to me. It doesn't belong to me. And this is how the messenger concludes. Your return is to him. You do not exist by yourself. He is your Lord, sustainer. He is the one that gives everything to you. So you shall return everything to him, saying that these are all yours. So this is how we return to the Creator. This is how the Day of Judgment happens. I should say right now that everything that is here is yours, and I return it to you. How do I return it to you? By saying that nothing belongs to me. And this is again the main theme of this chapter. Chiefs were claiming ownership over their authority, their wealth. The messenger was, since the very beginning, saying that don't worship anybody other than God and return back to your Creator. and be in constant meeting with your creator. This was the whole message of the messenger. He just keeps saying the same thing actually. But it doesn't occur to this chief mindset, which I am most of the time, I might be in such a mindset. I might say that, no, I am smart. It belongs to me. And my title that I hold right now is because I am smart. I worked hard and I get this title. So if somebody comes and tells me that don't worship anyone but God, I say, what do you mean? My intellect is mine. My title is mine. If I actually, I'm sort of worshiping all these things because they make me who I am in my mind. But you are coming and telling me that don't worship anybody other than God, then that means I will have to release my title. I will have to say that intellect doesn't belong to me. My title doesn't belong to me. Everything is His. And I don't want to lose this. I am a chief in this sense. In this story, I am this chief. And the messenger keeps saying again and again, in a very merciful language actually, still says that Huwa Rabbukum, He is your sustainer. He is the one that keeps giving you all these things. And your return is to Him. You don't own anything by yourself. He's just reading the fact. If I willingly give it to Him or not, I return to Him every moment. I mean, this is the fact of everyone. A believer, non-believer, everybody returns to God momentarily, as long as we are being given existence. So for example, this projector. If this projector claims that everything that you observe over here is mine, any of you would believe in such a claim? There's no truth in it. You would say that everything in this is turning back to, in this case, computer. Like everything that you observe in here comes from computer. It is the sustainer of this picture, in this case, metaphorically speaking. And all the credits for what you observe in here shall return to computer. And if we are careful, at every moment we do observe that, yeah, it's coming from computer, it's a fact. But this projector might be oblivious of this, but this doesn't change the fact. I might be oblivious of the fact that I am being given my intellect. And I might be boastful about it, it's mine. But a careful person looking from there would say, as the messenger does in here, Huwa Rabbukum, you have a sustainer. He is the one that keeps giving to you. And your return is to Him. All the credits, when I look at you, I can say right away that, oh, you have a knowledgeable creator, and hence you are speaking these like intellectual words or whatever. You are not smart by yourself. This is what the messenger keeps saying. Any comments that you would like to add? Zainab, do you have any comments? Any comments? She doesn't have any comments today.
Since I'm trying to implement all these verses that we study in my life. I'm trying to see how it goes in parallel. And I see that almost entirely of my life, I just live it. It goes away. A few days ago, I was telling to Aisha that I just realized 8 months just passed since something happened. That's not important. But 8 months, it's just the blink of an eye went away. As if we don't care about what's happening around us. We are not aware of things. As Prophet Nuh was saying that among you, I see that people who are not aware, truth and false. And we are not aware of the moment. And from time to time, I get interruptions. My life is interrupted. Something happens as if trying to tell me something. As simple as, I'm having a pain in my stomach. I don't know. I'm eating ice cream or whatever you were eating. Yogurt. You eating yogurt and having, the pleasure. Interruption in your lost time. Or Zainab is looking at you and you realize how careful she's looking at. It's an interruption. And this interruption in my life as a messenger starts telling me about something, about my life. That Birkan, you are living your life not in the right way. Don't you realize everything is just passing by and you're not even realizing? There are many things that you are missing. And my attitude against these messengers is it's just an ordinary thing. Like it's part of the life. I just hit my pinky to the table and it's hurting. It's nothing, it's just ordinary thing. As chiefs, you are telling the new that you're just men like us. Whatever happens in my life with these interactions, they're just ordinary things. Like I don't even have to think about them. My chief, my brain, my mind, whatever, tells me. And when I look at these interactions, most of them are the things which are miserable points. Low profile, as chiefs were saying. Low profile events. Resil, as the Arabic says. I don't know if the other languages it's used, but in Turkish also we use it. Resil, like miserable. You can use it for people, you can use it for any event, anything. It's a miserable thing. All these messengers, all these, the things that try to remind me something, they're just miserable things. When I lost something, when I have pain, when I hear sad news, these interruptions most of the time. Then I said, I should get rid of them. Forget about listening to them, I just should get rid of them. I should become a better man, I should become more careful, or I should earn more money. So just denying them, just trying to repulse them. And in return, the reality, the truth, as you said, tells me that these moments, these are the moments which will take you to your sustainer. As Nuh was saying that, even if I try to repulse them, these are the ones who found would make me come to my senses. So, and following all these verses and so on. So I guess the point is we should listen. We should listen to all these messengers, all these messages in our lives, all these interruptions. When something happens, when we see an insect and we scare, don't just take it as a dialogue between you and the insects. As Nuh says, it's not me who would give you this or who would give you that. It's not the insects that's scaring you. Your sustainer trying to attract your attention to something. So forget about the insects or forget about the pain you have. Try to understand where this pain or where this fear taking you. So take the messages in your life seriously. Do not try to repulse them. Do not try to get rid of them.
So just to summarize what I understood. So now if I put myself in the center of this story, so there are things that are happening in my life, and some of them are quote unquote good things, which are graduating from the college and the things that I write to my CV, I'm very proud of them. They give me my status. But there are also things that happen to my life, such as like bad things that I want to forget or that I don't want to live again, like failures. Yeah, I graduated, but I got a few D's or C's throughout my college. I want to cover those bad grades, whatever. Or I don't know, a friend just upset me. A lot of bad things that happen in my life. So uh, I don't take them as messengers, but they are just low profile things that I want to go away with them. But the messenger in this case tells me that these are the things that connect me with my maker, as he was saying that those low profile people are the ones, the believers are the ones that are in constant meeting with the creator. So those moments of me in which I realize my neediness, I connect with my maker, with my creator. But other side of me, like the chieftains in here, says that just go away. Don't remind me of those low moments. Remind me of my successes. This is what makes me valuable. And the messenger keeps reminding just opposite, saying how needy I am, how vulnerable I am. And those needy and vulnerable moments are the things actually that make me get connected with my sustainer. And once I realize my neediness, vulnerability, I return to him, meaning that I give everything to him. I don't claim anything to myself anymore once I realize my neediness. So we will stop here, maybe with the next verse. Because this is like a middle spot. أم يقولون افتريته فعلي إجرامي وأنا بريء مما تجرمون. Now, in the middle of the story, there's this extra verse, as if the creator now turns back to the messenger, says that, so do they assert Muhammad has invented this story? And although in the verse there's no word Muhammad, but within how this story, how the chapter started, in the initial verses of the chapter, we see that the messenger was challenged, saying that you are making up these verses. And now in the middle of this story again, says Muhammad has invented this. Messenger is just coming up with this message, but it has no truth in it. Then say, if I have invented it, upon me be this sin, but I am far from committing sin which you are guilty of. He says to the people that are challenging the messenger. So story on top of a story, sort of. So this is another layer of meaning in here.
Inception.
Inception.
Dream inception.
Dream inside dream. So in this verse, I see for the messenger, how firm he is in his message. Do they say that you are coming up with these stories out of your mind? You're just, I mean, it has no truth in it. This is what it means. You are inventing them, inventing these, either the message is an invention. Because this is what was being claimed, right? We have been believing in what our forefathers have been telling us so far. Where did you come up with this message? The message itself is as such. Or if we take it to my CV, the society in which I live in, it's all about success. And now you are coming and telling me that this life has an end. None of the things in my CV is truly useful for me. Where are you coming up with these funny ideas? Like, look at the rest of the world. They are even taking people to the Mars. And you're coming and telling me that this has no use? What does it mean? I mean, definitely it's worthy to go to Mars. I mean, definitely it is good to drive a Tesla. I mean, or at least a Passat. It's a good car. So
It was.
it was. So, but the messenger in here is very firm about his message. If what I'm saying is made up, if you think so, which I am pretty much convinced about its truth, its firmness, at least I am sure that I am not busying myself with the triflings of what you are doing. أنا بريء مما تجرمون. I'm away from your misdoings. At least I'm not doing what you are doing. So there's this sureness. I'm checking myself. Am I sure like this when it comes to my convictions in this existence, as I am claiming to be a believer? Am I that much sure, or is another part of me says that, well, if I published in that journal, though, it was going to make me a little bit better. Like I would feel a little bit better. I would become better of an important of a person, more important of a person. Because the messenger in here is so sure. He's saying that at least I'm not doing what you're doing there. I don't find myself to be there, honestly. When it comes to talking, I can tell that, yeah. I mean, what's the point of becoming famous? What's the point of, unless and until I find the meaning in things, meaning, like the aspect of it that looks to its source. What does this? What's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of, let's say, publishing something in Nature or Science? If you don't understand its purpose, then don't publish in it. I mean, I can say this to you verbally, but if I get an opportunity to publish there, I would do a lot of things to do that. I mean, just sleepless nights, or if there are tricks to do, whatever. But in here, the messenger is so sure, saying that at least I'm not doing what you are doing right there. I'm away from it. So, inshallah, next week, let's continue from the ark. Because now that the chiefs challenged and said that, okay, bring us this, what you were threatening us with, then a flood will come. And before maybe concluding for the day, so what sort of a thing that the messenger is threatening me with? What does the message is threatening me with? If I don't worship God, what sort of a suffering awaits me? Any ideas about this in our personal life? Or shall we leave it to next week to think about it for 1 week?
Like, not answering, but should we say what messenger promises rather than threatening? Because when you say threatening, it's as if it doesn't have to be that way, but just because he wants to do it or God wants to do it, if you are being tortured, but it was not, obligatory that it would happen that way. But when we say promise, it's more of a warning. Like if you continue that way, I can promise you, you will see these. Was it
the suffering will come?
Suffering, yeah, suffering will come. I can promise you. And the word is wide, right? Which is used like bring us what you promised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not trying to, making things sugar-coated, but just to give it right.
So let's stop here, and next week, inshallah, let's talk about what was it in their case and in the story, and what is this flood for me? What is the ark for me? Who is the ship maker? How can I get on this ship? so on and so forth. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم الحمد لله رب العالمين